go down, and
Okay.
otherwise you get this crazy echo thing going on.
Yeah, right.
Motion's freezing. There we go. There we go. All right, everybody, it's the Zoom stuff is all live and it's
Okay.
streaming to YouTube, so.
All right, well, I'll call the meeting to order. And John France, if you're taking down the roll call, I assume.
Yes,
You're here. We've got an agenda ahead of us, and we also have had minutes from the meeting back in October. It's been a long time since we met it. And hopefully everybody had a chance to look at that. So, before we get to Chris and talking a little bit about liability, we have the public comment or correspondence. John, do you have anything for us?
Do you want to do motions and all that stuff for the?
No, I don't think so, because we don't have a quorum anyway. so-
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be just kind of
So-
futile.
Yep, I do not have any public comment, so.
Okay. Well, then, let's do this then. Chris, we asked you to come today because we are concerned a little bit about our officer liability. And even though we don't have that many people here today, we were a fairly large group of about, what, 16 or 18 of us or something like that.
There's 12 board members.
12, yeah, and spread across the county. And because of our mission statement, we have, you can see on the treasurer's report all the different groups that we interact with. And the question came up, and Ben Durfee, I know you're listening in, you can help us here. The question came up, what if there was some problem with one of the groups that we have been holding some money, and then they took it, and then they had a problem, are we ultimately, can we be responsible in some way, shape, or form? And we don't have the answer to that. And if we did have liability insurance, would we be covered? And if we had liability insurance, what kind of a cost are we looking at? So that's kind of where we're at. It's not so much, we are a holding organization. We don't go out and elicit money, we hold other people's money. So we're not too concerned about how we interact with the money, but we're more concerned about the groups that we help to sponsor. So if they get into trouble, if we have some liability in that, how can we recover? So did I say that right, Ben? Is that about it? Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pat, I was muted there for a second.
Oh, okay.
A lot of noise going on over here.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to let Chris kind of give us an overview of what we can look at in terms of liability insurance, and then we can talk a little bit about it. And since we don't have a quorum, we can't make a decision tonight, but we can certainly take the information, and then we can discuss it at a future date, maybe move forward on.
That sounds great. And I think I heard John say that he was recording this. So,
Right.
Chris's comments are going to be perpetually online. So thank you, Chris, for coming out.
All right. Well, for the record, my name is Chris Johnson from Johnson Insurance Agency in Waupaca and Clintonville. Ben had reached out to me, well, way before the pandemic era, and to start it. So here we are to talk about directors and officers liability coverage. Ben, I've sent you some information. Has that gone out to the other board members at all? Some of the
I can't recall, John, if you know, we had it. I think we sent it out in an email the first time we had you on the schedule, Chris, and I'm not sure if John has it with him today.
Okay.
I do not.
Okay. Well, directors and officers liability insurance is actually a fairly simple kind of insurance. If the board is accused of some impropriety, and whether that be misappropriation of funds or a poor decision on how you're running this board, and somebody presents a lawsuit somehow that says, you guys did something wrong. Directors and officers liability, that's what triggers that coverage, so that the insurance company comes to your defense, and if they lose that defense, then it pays for whatever that loss is. Starting at $1 million, and you can purchase coverage on up to $5 million. If I do not believe that what you said here, Pat, about how this board is set up and you interact with other organizations, this policy would not trickle down to those other organizations. So if they misappropriate something or do something that causes a lawsuit against that entity, this policy covering your entity would not cover them. If that lawsuit goes uphill and says we're going to present a lawsuit against a group that you work with, and we're going to name Waupaca County Natural Resources Foundation in that lawsuit, the directors and officers policy would protect you guys, your officers and directors. It would not offer protection to that other entity. All right. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for, or if you're looking for something that covers all of those entities below you as well.
Well, I don't think we were most concerned about ourselves.
Correct.
Right.
That's the way I understood.
Yes. All the other groups, which come and go, by the way. I mean, some of these organizations are with us for a short period of time.
Okay.
Some have been with us almost from the beginning. So we're going to kind of, at least for now, stick with just our organization.
And that's the way I would interpret what you're looking for.
Right.
Because a personal homeowner's policy, I'm guessing that the board members are volunteers primarily.
Yes.
Or perhaps paid a stipend, but typically volunteers.
Correct.
Your personal homeowner's policy will not trigger if this group is sued for some reason, or if one of the individual board members is sued through actions that you're doing with your board. A directors and officers liability policy is what comes into play there for that. So if the board is sued or a given member is sued, that's where the directors and officers liability policy comes into play.
So as we, each and every year, we have a fall meeting where we elect our officers and we may change the guard. So we would have to obviously be current with who's on the board to begin with, would we not? Or is it just the organization, regardless of people coming and going?
When we start out, we get a list of all the board members. That's part of the application. Any changes throughout the year are automatically covered. At the end of the year, the insurance company will ask for a current list, and it just changes. Routinely. Some of them, sometimes they only ask every 3 years, but the board members are covered even through those changes.
Okay. And what are we looking at? I'm sure that one of the questions that everybody wants to know is what are we looking at for cost for an organization of our size?
Yeah, the initial information, without, my disclaimer is we haven't done a complete full-blown application.
Right.
And, but the initial indication from the insurance company on a $1 million policy is $750 per year. I got my underwriter to give me a guess on a $2 million policy, and they said it would be between $1,250 and $1,500. You wouldn't give me beyond that. We can get limits up to $5 million, and I can get firm numbers with an application. And an application does not commit you to anything.
Right. Questions by others? Ben, any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
So, and we would, pay the premium fee here, annual, as you mentioned,
Typically annually.
and it would go into effect, I assume, as soon as the policy was drawn up.
Correct.
And who would the policy be, with?
The insurance carrier is West Bend Mutual Insurance. Oddly enough, based in West Bend, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
They,
well, they advertise a lot of people, probably heard them in ball games and everything.
correct, the silver lining.
Yeah,
They do business in about 25 states and here in the Midwest. And are very well known for the directors and officers coverages.
Okay. So if we were to move forward, are we satisfied with a minimum coverage, I'd say minimum here being $1 million? Is there any reason to think it should be higher than that?
I think $1 million is pretty good. Chris, if I'm not mistaken, it's $1 million plus legal defense, right?
Correct. Defense is outside of the $1 million. Correct.
Right. So it's the legal defense because, you know, we have to believe that none of us are going to do anything that would warrant any liability lawsuit prevailing against us. But we certainly wouldn't want to have to foot the cost of litigation. And that has always been my biggest concern. We don't have a lot of excess dollars in our budget. And if we got sued because some chucklehead did something stupid on one of those outings, then, you know, we've got to defend ourselves and it could cost a lot of money to do that.
So just as long as you brought that up, Ben, let's just take it for instance here, okay? And I'm going to just pick one of our organizations, the Waupaca Little Wolf River Trail of Manawa. Okay, if Little Wolf Trail of Manawa has, as Ben suggested, some character who steals some money from them. After they took some money out from our organization, and then instead of using it for its purpose, that somehow they used it for their own personal use. And then we're sued, and then because we were the holding group, we were part of that, named in that lawsuit. Okay, so that's when West Bend would jump into the fray.
Correct.
And we basically would just sit back and say, okay, we have nothing to do with this. We gave the money with the right intentions, and then they, you know, did something they shouldn't have, and so we just let our insurance company take it from that point.
Correct.
Well, what do you think?
Well, I'll just throw out this.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll just throw out this, John. We got, according to Mark's report there, we've got in the administration for the program, we've got $7,000 some in there. So you can pay that premium for quite a few years, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we have provisions within our contractor agreement that allows us to assess a charge against organizations for that administrative cost as well. And I'm just saying that we don't need that now, just as John pointed out, we've got the funds available. But as time goes by, you know, we have to probably share the cost with our members. So far, we've charged nothing for the services that we provide.
Correct. And Chris, just for your benefit there, all of the organizations that you have a copy of, that one at the top is our money, you know, that we've accrued over time in a variety of ways, so that's kind of discretionary funding. That's why John was just mentioning that, you know, if we needed to pay $750, that's not a concern right now, certainly. Okay, well, let's just leave that on hold for a second, and as long as we brought up, let's take a look at our, I didn't give John much of a chance. Let's take a look at our balance sheet here. Did Mark Sather give you any other information, John?
Yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about what he said in his email there. Said if anybody wants the full summary, they can get a hold of him, and he'll email it to them. If you had any questions too, he would be more than happy to help you out. And then for the meeting today, he said if you look on the full printout, maybe he's even got it on the, yeah, he's got it on the bottom of the little sheet he gave you. He said he cashed out a couple of the CDs and did not renew them. because the rates are so poor. And he was unsure if any of the groups are going to be needing any cash in the near future. So I know from his discussions at the county level, he's saying the CD rates are pretty horrible right now. So his question was, is there, if we're aware of any big needs coming up, or if he should try and target to reinvest again some of the funds back into CDs. So if anybody has that, we don't really have much for groups represented here, but so that was what he reported.
Well, the one group that, one of the larger groups are the Waupaca Friends of the Parks. Do you know of anything that they're up to these days, John?
I am not aware of anything, but I haven't been in that loop for a while, so.
Yeah, that's Roger Holman's group, isn't it?
I think he's on that, yeah.
I talked to him not too long ago, and I don't think there's a whole lot going on there right now, to be quite honest. I mean, I think that's true with all of our
Yep,
groups.
yep.
So my suggestion to Mark Sater would probably be, let's reinvest or keep the money generating, even if it's a small amount, better than just sitting in a bank account without getting any interest. Because I can't see too many of these organizations, at least we haven't heard anything, moving any projects forward right now.
The one that I'm aware of is the Sturgeon Trail project, and they're gonna take some money out of that this fall. They're working on redoing the riprap along the Sturgeon Trail there by New London, kinda, and so they will spend a little out of there. Not sure exactly how much. I think about 1,000 that I'm aware of, but there may be a little more than that.
Well, that certainly, we have plenty of money for that.
Yep.
It's only when, again, like you say, it's only when we get into those larger organizations like the Friends, if they all of a sudden had a $70,000 project.
Yep.
We might be,
I want to throw a little curve at you.
okay,
I'm on the finance committee, county, and we're looking at now reinvesting some of our monies in savings and loans because the interest rate is better there considerably than the banks right now. I don't know the situation here, but I'm just telling you what Mark brought up in our last meeting on finance, that he can do considerably better in some of the surrounding big banks in the area. I should say some of the surrounding big counties in the area are doing the same.
moving into savings and loans.
Moving into savings and loans, and just because of you're only talking 0.5% at the bank, and you might be only be talking a percent at the savings and loan, which is really double the amount when you have it in your mind. You know what I'm saying? Don't quote me on the exact percent.
Right.
I came up with that last time.
Ben, any thoughts on keeping the money in the funds in the programs that Mark set up?
No, if Marcus checked the credit unions right now, they're probably paying the highest rates for demand deposits like savings accounts and CDs. And by high rates, I mean 0.5% maybe, 0.25% is more likely.
Okay, so we should just maybe advise Mark Sater to just either keep the money in the accounts that or the CDs he has, if they're worth it, or if he wants to move them, to go ahead and do that, because either or is not going to be much of a difference. But and maybe the transaction for him to monkey around with it for that small amount might not even be worth it. So
Yeah.
we can certainly let him use his own discretion. But I think the bottom line is, let's let him keep all of that money in some kind of a CD / fund, because there's no reason to take anything out right now.
Right.
Okay, so let's get, just as long as we kind of got a pretty good handle on our funding, what should we tell Chris as of today? I mean, we don't have a quorum here today. We could certainly make a decision as kind of a poll, or like a poll ourselves here, and then we could maybe, John, we could send out to all of our members. It's been suggested that we enter into a contract with Chris with West Bend for $1 million insurance policy covering, our board members at the cost of $750 roughly dollars. And then we could poll all of our people through email or whatever. And if we get a positive, then either John, you can contact me, and I could certainly talk to Mark Sather, and we could cut a check and do all of the paperwork and get that going. What do you think about that?
We would not need a payment until after a policy is approved, so you wouldn't have to cut a check. We could go through the application process,
Okay.
get a firm price, and then you can make your final decision.
And how long does that process take?
30 days max, maybe 14 days.
So probably sometime in September.
Yeah,
We have another meeting coming up end of October, so.
We have one at the end of October.
So we have that there to present,
Right.
we have a quorum to approve.
Yeah, that's true too. That would be, what do you think about that? To put it all together and then present it to the group in October, assuming that we have a quorum, then we can just pass it then and implement it October, whatever that
October
date is.
27th, Tuesday, October 27th.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
think that's a great idea. I'd ask Chris if he could start the application process and get us a firm quote. And Chris, I'm assuming that the quote would be good for a month.
at least, and it's easy to get extended. So we can do that. Yeah, not a
That
problem.
way we have a firm number to vote on come next meeting.
Right,
yeah,
We're gonna put that in the calendar.
yeah.
well, what we'll do, John, Rich, is when you send out the agenda, we obviously won't have that on the agenda, but we might put a little asterisk there that we need a quorum for approval. And again, if we don't have everybody in person or Zooming at that time, we'll have to do something to get that approval done within a very short time. I think most people will be able to weigh in on that.
Sure.
So, okay, that's like a deal.
Okay.
So based on what I'm listening to the other members here, we would like you to move forward with that, Chris,
Okay.
if you will. And you can be in contact with John and he'll be in contact with me. You probably have to have somebody to sign off on that.
Yeah, I will need a signature at some point, and I will need a copy of our articles of incorporation
John has.
and a copy of like a recent financial statement.
Something like this.
And I don't know if this might be enough.
We got all the details for this.
Yeah,
Right.
he
But
does the one to the state every year, so Mark could be able to
Mark
get you
does,
the,
okay.
yeah.
And then, with your articles of incorporation, have your a current listing of the board members.
Yeah, and I've got that too,
Yeah,
so.
they're actually right on here. They're all up here.
Oh, sure.
Foundation members right here. But we have them listed.
Okay.
And do you need just their names or do you need more like,
No, just their names.
addresses and all that?
Yeah, no, just your name.
Just their name. Okay.
Would be fine.
And then Chris, who needs to sign the application?
An officer.
Okay,
Yeah, a president, a vice president, a secretary, somebody along those lines.
okay.
And I can certainly do it. John can contact me if I'm not available. And Sam's can do it.
Well, and if a treasurer can do it, Mark works right
Mark can do it
upstairs, so.
upstairs too.
Sure.
And if he doesn't, if he wants to have somebody other than himself, I'll be happy to come in.
Sure.
All right. I'll leave my card here. It's got my email address on it.
Okay, good.
Then we can get the process started. John, if you could reach out to me and then you and I can correspond and whatever
Absolutely.
else we gotta figure out, we'll work with.
When does Mark Sather come back? He's on vacation.
I don't know.
I'm assuming pretty soon, probably next week or the week after. So he'll be right in the building too, so
Sure,
any questions, we'll get that all squared away.
that sounds good.
Okay, well, that was the big thing that we need to talk about. Any project updates, John, we need to talk about? I mean, everything's pretty much on hold, I know.
Yeah, I know just with the Sturgeon Trail one, the DNR and the Shadows on the Wolf and everybody are working together to try and get that going. And the DNR is picking up the lion's share of the money on that one. So it's a fisheries project because of the sturgeon rocks and stuff for breeding. So that's coming along. They're supposed to do it this fall if everything works out right. Hopefully the river will stay low and they'll be able to do that, so. But that's about all I know.
Anything out at the county fairgrounds? I know there was no
Oh, yeah.
fair. But
Yeah, that fair building, the hog sheep barn extension, show ring thing, we recently added a few things, and you'd see that on the activity report there that Mark put out, the full one. We've spent some money on that, we've got all the LED lighting in there, and we added a little extra tin on the sides to drop down for a little shade on that part, and then just a few other things that need to be done, and then they're talking about buying some more pens, permanent pens for that area. So it's coming along well, and it's still going though. They're working out the bugs. They're using that to do the show part of the fair this weekend. They're actually doing that this weekend when fair would have been. So it's the Market Animal Group and a couple other groups that kind of got together, and they're showing all their critters so these kids can get their projects finished and sell their animals. So, and they're doing it social distanced, and all the animals are being shown off a trailer. So they walk them off the trailer, run them through the show ring and back into their trailer. So they're not all hanging out in one spot for too long. So.
is that open to the public or? I mean,
No, they're
without
trying
audience?
they're trying to just keep it to immediate family and going from there. So, and they're not inviting other people, like other places that had show or fairs canceled or whatever. It's all just the folks that were gonna be at the fair that had registered for the fair, just so these kids can wrap up their projects. So, yep.
Okay, anybody else have anything else for the good of the meeting as far as projects or comments? If not, I think we'll adjourn since we don't have anything else pressing, and we'll get together in October. And John, would you remind everybody again in October that that's our annual meeting?
Yep, that'll be all over the agenda.
Yeah, and those people who are up for their terms, I don't know who they are off the top. You have a list.
Yeah, I think the ones for 2020, it's Mark Sether, Bob Esau, Jay Stern, and Ben Durfee. So,
Okay, so they can at least get a contact for that reminder.
yep, I'll send that out with the agenda, the officer list, and when your agenda or when your terms are done,
Okay,
whatnot. So,
sounds good.
all right.
Okay, thank you, Chris, for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Problem, I think we'll move forward. I think just based upon what we've heard here with everybody and thoughts that we have, we'll probably move forward on this without any trouble.
Okay. Anything else, Ben?
I got nothing. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Chris. Glad we had a chance to talk about this.
All right. Well, I'm going to shut this thing down then.
And I'm
All
gonna,
right, bye-bye.
okay. Meeting adjourned. I'm sure